In the 90s, I grew up in Brooklyn. My dad had his bar seized by the feds because he didn't pay his taxes during the 1987 crash. He got behind, and the Fed showed up one day, and this was maybe 6 weeks before I was set to go to college. And he said, "Hey, son, I can't help you with college. Good luck. And I might be going to jail, so take care of your mom." So he was like really behind on his taxes. And, state liquor authority, they kind of take it serious. So feds come, shotguns, the whole thing. They seize the place. They seize everything in it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to school at night and I'm going to work during the day. And I worked fixing laser printers. And that was like a really good racket. The HP had just come out. And
were you set to go to college somewhere else?
Well, that's another story, but I was set to go to Brooklyn College. I got into that. I had also taken the police exam to be a police officer. So my brother went into the force. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can go to college and make that work. So I'm going to go to Brooklyn College. So I decided to work during the day. And then I went to school 4 nights a week, 6 to 9 p.m., carried full credits, 16 credits a semester. And I would work fixing laser printers all day. I was a bad student. I was always that student who underperformed. I didn't find great meaning in academics, but I had a computer when I was in high school, and I was more interested in playing with my 300 baud modem, which then became a 1200 baud modem in my PC Junior. So it kind of, like many people of that era, we were sort of set on a path because we were the first generation to have a computer at home. I actually had an Atari 2600, and it could play Tank, was the game that came with it, and Pong. And so my dad bought this for us when I was 6 or 7 years old, 1976, 1977, and he had one of the first Pongs in Brooklyn in his bar.
Oh, so he must have cleaned up on that.
Oh my God, it was crazy. And so I just got exposure to video games and computers, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, computers are going to change everything. And then I happened to hack some software. I ran a lot of scams, but...
you told us about the VHS.
So VHS, Jason's Hot Tapes, was technically my first business, but there was a side job I had, which was cracking software. So we would make copies of like Chess Master and stuff like that, and then sell them for $10. And then we started like hacking and doing what was called phone phreaking.
When you were doing this stuff, like, it's you to be reasonably technical to do it. Not like not like Wozniak technical, but like
we soldered chips sometimes. We changed.
Yeah, like
to put memory in at that time, you had to like take the memory chips and put them in and then bend them over and stick them in.
Did you ever think about, like, did you consciously ever make a fork where you were like, not tech media? And of course media about tech, but you're like, I'm not going to be the guy doing the boards. I'm going to be the guy writing about the people doing the boards.
It's a very good question. I used to go to Bleecker Street, and I used to hang out in the West Village or the East Village. It was like the cool places to hang out. And like a thing to do would be to go to Tower Records and look at the zine section. So there was a concept of a zine, which was short for magazine. But a zine was something you wrote with your friends. You printed it yourself at a photocopy store.
It's like blogs before blogs.
Blogs before blogs. And I created a zine. I was like, I'm going to be a magazine publisher. So the first one I did was Cyber Surfer, which was about dial-up services and CD-ROMs. And I did it with my friend Brian Alvey, whom you might have heard of in my career. We went to high school together.
Weblogs?
We did weblogs together, yeah. So, but in the early 90s, I did
Which is Engadget, Twad.
All that stuff, yeah.
Everything you sold to AOL.
Everything I sold to AOL. But anyway, before that, I did I did that magazine, and then I had met Jerry Colonna at Internet World, the first one. And there was a booth.
That's right, when Jerry was a VC before he was like the
Before he was a VC, he was
consulting
for Lycos, and I think CMGI. And so there was a Lycos booth, and I had met this young lady at it, and we hit it off, and we were talking, and then she introduced me to Jerry Colonna. And then I met Jerry Colonna in an office no bigger than this room on Union Square, and he said, listen, I'm leaving Lycos, but I'm going to start this Acme Ventures with my friend Fred. I want you to come read business plans for us. And so I met Fred Wilson, and I would go up to them, and they were doing, JP Morgan was going to back them for their venture firm. This was 1994, 95.
This became Flatiron.
It became Flatiron.
JP Morgan was the first big anchor of Flatiron?
They were half of it, and Masayoshi-san, SoftBank, was the other half.
No way!
So they wanted you to come be a VC associate.
Not a VC, just to read business plans. So the deal was they would take me for sushi and pay me $1,000.
Wait, what do VC associates do besides just read business plans?
Exactly. Well, anyway, it was the thing. And so I had the magazine started, Silicon Eye Reporter, and they were paying me. And so I read about this Beverly Hills Internet Company, which got rebranded as GeoCities. And I wrote a little coverage of it, and I said, you should invest. I'm 24 years old. I don't even know what VC is.
That's where Flatiron made all their money.
Yeah. They were going to invest anyway.
And Flatiron became USV, right?
Yeah.
Square Ventures.
Flatiron went with Jerry Colonna. Then when Jerry decided he wanted to move to Colorado and just chill, he had made enough money, I think. And
Coach Founders,
I think. And yeah, maybe he had I think he's been pretty public about it. Like, I don't want to say a nervous breakdown, but a kind of like maybe a fork in the road, like making a decision about what you want in your life kind of situation.
He wrote that great book about it.
Yeah. And so Jerry was a good mentor, but Fred actually became ultimately my deep mentor at that time. And Fred said to me, listen, you're doing Silicon Valley Reporter. You're writing about us and the companies we're investing in. And you're doing stuff. Which would you rather do? And I was like, I think I'll do the magazine.
This was before. Now it's like, I do both.
And now it's like I do both. Right? Why choose?
But just to back up to GeoCities, that sold to Yahoo for like
$5 billion.
And
I think 4 or 5.
Flatiron was the main investor.
Yeah, Flatiron maybe owned 5 or 10% of it at the time. It was like a huge win for them. I mean, Fred was on fire for a New York VC and Jerry. They did pretty well. They had
How did that happen, right? Like, I mean, Silicon Valley was here, but they were in New York. Like, what was going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of good companies brewing in New York, and my concept with Silicon Valley Reporter was, well, they have red herring and upside in the Bay, but I owned New York, and I had Silicon Valley Reporter, and then I started one called Digital Coast Reporter in LA. So I had 2 magazines, 2 conferences, 2 email newsletters. I was kind of king of New York, right? I grew that business to $10 million in revenue off my credit cards. Had 75 to 100 people working for me when I was 27 years old, and I didn't know anything about how to run a magazine, how to run ad sales. I taught myself everything.
What did your family think of this? Like,
it was pretty heady stuff because I wound up being on the cover of the New York Times on Charlie Rose, and they wrote a feature story about me for 8,000 words in the New Yorker. So anyway, it's a really cool time in New York because at that time, you were either in media or finance or art, publishing. It was like a finite set, and I was in publishing, but I was also in this new thing, technology. And so everybody wanted in on that. It would be like the equivalent of crypto is today, like at its peak, where and you were the equivalent of like Satoshi or something. Like, it was crazy to be the New York internet guy.
Who got the truth? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Sit me down, say it straight. Another story on the way. Who got the truth? Who got the truth now?